Right, so I've flashed M32 on these ASCs, nicely wrapped them in heat shrink, so this is all ready to go. So I'm now going to assemble the copter. I did a fast assembly one of these as a video. Probably do this more of a time lapse with some commentary thrown in, but just going to take my time a little bit, and it's not very hard. There's some follow along instructions, so I'm just going to follow the instructions and put it all together. This is the full FPV kit, so it has camera, and she has an RT. It has space for a SICK telemetry radio. It's got camera. It's got VTX. So I will be attempting to put all of those in, which I think will be quite cool. All right, thanks. So I want M3 times 6mm. That looks about 6mm, I would say, so I'm going to use those. That's the 6 posts assembled, so now I'm going to put the nylon screws through with some nuts on for the flight controller. Alright, that's those in. So now I'm going to mount the arms underneath with the base plate, and this requires 12mm M3 screws that go down. So that's those with these lock nuts. So you'll notice the arms just really held themselves in place once you got the 4 screws in, so I haven't actually added any screws yet. And then I was able to fairly easily slot the base plate on, so that's quite nice in terms of putting it all together. Now put some nuts on the bottom. Now I've got all the nuts in place but not tightened. I think what I'll do is I'll get a power drill just to tighten these up, just because there's so many of them. Should be quicker. Right, done. So I won't put the arms on yet, but now it's time to mount the power distribution board and the flight controller. So we'll do that next. Power distribution board goes on here, flight controller goes above it, and then we've got a lateral in the back. No, a lateral in the front actually. That's the front, a lateral in the front. Telemetry radio in the back. So let's do that then. So you can just see, so this is the minimum OSD, which is powered off the power distribution board. One end goes into the lateral, other end goes into the camera, and then this is for a UART. Might just heat shrink this after I plug the UART in. So I'm going to need to find a UART cable that fits. It's nice to have everything wired up. And this is the power cable. Right, I'm going to mount the minimum OSD on the underside here with the help of a little sticky pad, and then the flight controller on the top. She looks from the diagram like it's mounted the other way up, so I might just do that. Mount it to the base plate rather than to the top, makes more sense. Alright, so I'll mount the atlatl with this VHB double-sided tape, and then I'll do the same with the flight controller. That's just the right width, which is nice. So that should fit perfectly like that. Okay, so cut it to the size of the flight controller. I'm slightly surprised there's no heat shrink from the atlatl, but maybe that's because it keeps in the heat too much. So I'll just mount it bare then. So I just plugged the OSD into telemetry 2 and then power into power, and that leaves telemetry 1 maybe for the SIC radio if I put that on, and then GPS in there. Alright, so now I need to get the ESCs in the right place. Usually with ESCs it's the FETs that get hot, which are these 6 chips here. So I will tend to mount them that way, with the FETs uppermost. These I'll probably just use some of this VHD tape again and maybe put some zip wires on them. There are some holes for putting zip ties in, but I'll probably mount with VHD first. Always with these it's a little bit tricky leaving enough space for the motor wires, as you can see. So what I'd probably do is mount the motors first, and then I can see how much play I've got, and then I'll stick down these, but they should, ideally they'll sort of go about there. I think that should be okay. I should be able to hold them in place like that. I mean, I might just do it like that anyway. I think that's the right thing to do. There's no space to go any further back, so I think I'll just do that. There, I think that's good. So now mount the motors. Which should be pretty easy. I think they just use these screws here. Can't be those. I think those are for the top plate. The motor screws must be in a bay somewhere. I shall have a look, see if I can find the missing motor screws. Oh, it's these ones. These are T-motor screws. Clearly, that's what T-motor screws look like, so use those. I think probably with a bigger hex. And if I was feeling really keen, I'd use some of this blue Loctite 243 just to hold the motor screws in place. I mean, I might do that a bit later, but for now I'm not going to bother. Right, there we go. It's all mounted. So now plug the motor leads in and then maybe hold them down a little bit with zip ties. It's quite a snug fit. I think it just about fits, and I think those will hold probably. Might just put a zip tie around each one of them just to keep it in place. I think that's all I might do. Yeah. Right, so now plug the motors in. I'll need to remember which is M1 to M4 because it's ArduPilot order. Might just check that. go. Alright, that's camera. So really it's just GPS and see whether the SICK radio will fit. So I'll grab a SICK radio and we'll see whether that will fit. If I can get this to fit, it'd be quite convenient, but it's going to be a little bit snug because of where I've put the capacitor. Well, the alternative is upside down. That might be better actually. Upside down above. That's probably the thing to do, isn't it? The battery will. I think that'll do. Battery's the side, that upside down. It's quite convenient to have a SICK radio, so I think I might do that. I'll mount it the underside, and then I do need a radio receiver, so that can go on the base plate, I think. Alright, that fits quite nicely there. So I just need to find a radio receiver. I'll probably use CRSF just because that's convenient for me. Alright, had to just recover a Nano RX from Vince Hogg. I swapped this for one of mine. This is one of the newer ones that was causing failsafe issues, but I think TBS should have solved it now. So I've wired up a telemetry cable. I'm going to plug that into GPS 2 on the side here, and then somehow I need to mount this probably under here. Makes sense. Something like that. I think there's some, I can hold that down with some zip ties, and then that can pop on the back there. I think that'll be good. Or maybe out the end here. Maybe that would make sense. Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. Just out the end there. I think I'll do it that way. And then I can loop this round, stick it down. That should be good. So I'll do that now. Right, that looks good. So now just some zip ties to hold it all down, I think. There we go. I think that's actually quite neat. So put these bolts in the top. Of course, I forgot my GPS, so GPS. There's the GPS. Looks good. Might need an extra zip tie just to keep it snug, but that looks okay. Right. Done. Ready to start configuring. Very nice. Oh, what's that going on? Very good. Alright, quick moment of truth before I end the video. I said I wanted to try this on 6S, so let's see. Plugged it all in, see what happens with 6S power. That's interesting. So AM32 does this little beep beep beep. There we go. And the flight controller is paired, the GPS is paired, so looking good. Need to configure it. I suspect these need D-shot before they'll start settling down, so I'll configure that shortly.